Welcome to today's episode of Souls Outside. We're going to start off by talking a little bit about our amygdala and how it's the piece that tries to keep us back from doing what we want to do. And then we're going to meet Aleksandra Di Gesaro, who is a fashion photographer, writer, and entrepreneur, who's going to share a little bit about her journey from lawyer to the amazingness she's doing now. And then in our final section, she'll share some tips on how to be successful as a freelancer in the creative space is her specialty. However, as always, even if that's not yours, we can always pick up tips from other people and map them over to our own lives. Stay tuned. Welcome to Souls Outside, where we're all about finding the trail to stay true to your path. We do this by inviting featured guests on every show to share with you how you can follow in their soul prints, so you can choose which trail maps you need to continue on your journey. My name is Shannon Pohl, and I'm loving having navigated my own pivot from engineering to now being a master results coach and hypnotherapist, plus a forest guide who loves getting outside so we can learn from the nature, foster stewardship, and really amplify our successes by being outside in nature. I'm so excited to have you join today's episode. Welcome to Souls Outside. Welcome to today's episode of Souls Outside, where later we invite Aleksandra Di Gesaro, who's a fashion photographer living in Italy, also a writer and entrepreneur, to join us. And when I chatted with her and we filmed her section earlier, one of the things that she highlighted in her talk, which I'm super excited for you to listen to later, in 10 minutes, was how even if you don't think you can do it, you got to get into action. You got to do it. Because really, if you don't think you can, it's really just because you're scared. And so I thought as we open up today's episode, we talk a little bit about that, and that little piece of our brain, the little pesky brain, it's in your brain. I can't point to it. It's in my brain. Is the amygdala. Oh my goodness, the amygdala. It's an amazing little piece of our brain that's completely designed to keep us safe, protect us from harm. It's, that piece of our brain way back in the caveman times that when the saber-toothed tiger came around, we either fought it, which was a debatable choice, or we ran away. So fight or flight, and definitely one of the ones that has become more popular to introduce in this analogy is freeze. So fight, flight, or freeze, which, as we know from, I think it's how if you see a bear in the woods, you just freeze and it just keeps going. Don't look that up in another source to confirm. But anyways, our amygdala, fight, flight, or freeze. So it's designed to treat anything new like a big scary item, because it could be. It doesn't know. It's new. So while this, its ability to keep us safe was phenomenal when we lived life or death scenarios every day, for many of us, our current reality, COVID aside, we really have nothing to truly be afraid of on a regular basis. We have to be cautious when crossing streets. With COVID, we need to be more cautious wearing gloves and masks, social distancing. So there's definitely things we have to be aware of and be cautious of. And when the world started shutting down, what happened in stages. I live in Canada, so it was mid-March when things really started shutting down here. And a lot of us, like all of our amygdalas fired. It happened. We all went into fight, flight, or freeze because it was new. So people either got angry. So that's angry is just fighting it, complaining about it. Flight. Well, flight and freeze in this case are kind of the same. Flight is a little bit more just like, I'm just going to hide in my hidey hole, which is a little bit like freeze in this particular instance, where you just stop everything and just like go on pause. So our world pretty much went on pause for, say, about 2 weeks, not 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 weeks, 2 months, before things started opening up. And for many of us, I know that was my first reaction. I was like, I'm just going to hide in my hidey hole. I'm just going to just snuggle up and, hide from the rest of the world. And I got into action fairly quickly. Others got into action much faster than I did. And it's just about recognizing that it was natural, fight, flight, or freeze. So let's take that out to the rest of our world. So Aleksandra is going to talk to us from a freelancer perspective. She's a fashion photographer who's reached great success, and her clients are all the creative types that want to get doing. And whether that's you or not, we all been in these situations where we're like, we want to do something, and then somehow we get held back. And so first piece is recognizing that it is our amygdala. It's normal, it's natural, and it's going to happen. Anytime, even when I go hiking, there's a moment on a new trail where you're like, that little bit of like, what's going to be around the next bend? What's going to, how steep is this trail going to be? Like, it's not big enough to hold me back. It quickly turns into curiosity and motivation to go and explore. However, there is still that little bit of an unknown thing. I think that's why the trail always seems faster on the way back, because the first time everything's new. So there's all that like, I don't know, a little bit in our brains. So we're not skeptical, but there's a bit of an energy in us that's hesitant or on guard, cautious as we go forward on a trail the first time. And when we walk back the same route a second time, we know it's a known thing. So there's that more lightness. It seems to go faster. Not necessarily too fast, but just faster and flowier because our brains have done it before. It's now the second, third, fourth time we've walked that route. And so there's a level of comfort and security there. And so that's where, as in our lives, we need to remember that the first time we do anything new, try a new food, go to a new website on our computers, meet somebody new at the grocery store, go to a new place, quite literally anything new, walk down a different street in your neighborhood. There is a little piece of our brain that's going, oh, pay attention. We might have to do something to stay safe here. Because it is there to keep us safe, such that in case, a car does go whizzing by, we're ready to back up onto the sidewalk and stay safe. And so the flip side of it is just like that trail, the more you walk it, the more comfortable and easygoing you are. That's where we get our confidence. It's by doing things, being in motion, actioning, by saying, hey, amygdala, I know the first time was a little scary. So the first time, maybe we let some of our nerves get to us and it didn't go as good as we wanted it to. The second time, we're more comfortable with it. We've done it once before. We got this. Then the third time, for most of us, we have a 3-time convincer that once we've done it 3 times solid, we're like, awesome, we can do this. And then that's when we get into the tweaking and the, elevating our game or playing around with some changes, which we even saw on this podcast, that first few episodes had different backgrounds and had a different flow. And as we did more and more of them, honestly, the first one I recorded was like, so nervous. And it was with a friend that I've known for quite a while. And yet there was the nerves. It was new. So we all have amygdalas. It's normal. It's natural. You just got to get into motion, because confidence is just building our competency over time. So the more times you do it, the more competent you are. It'll be a fact. And then over time, that's when our feeling of confidence comes. So there's our little chat time for this morning. And stick with us as we're going to meet Aleksandra Di Gesaro, who's going to share a little bit about her journey from lawyer to fashion photographer, and some tips to navigate that space of becoming a freelancer. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back, everyone. Today, I'm so excited to introduce you to Aleksandra Di Gesaro, who's a fashion photographer, writer, and entrepreneur. And I'm super fascinated to hear more about her story today, because I went from engineering pivot to entrepreneur. She went from studying law to now being a fashion photographer and helping creatives navigate to being their own businesses as well. So welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Excellent. And I guess really, can you tell us a little bit about how law school to fashion photographer, that's quite the change. How did that happen?
Well, I love taking pictures like since, don't know, I was 13. I just never really
Mhm.
considered it could be my full-time job. And I was brought up like have study hard, have good grades, get a good job, etc. So that's why I studied law. Just that right after graduating law, I moved from Poland to Italy to join my then fiance and now husband. And I discovered that the job market in Italy was like completely different than in Poland. The things I was planning to do after law, because I never really planned being like a lawyer, but I planned, okay, I can work in a corporate job in a bank, something like this. In Italy, like, no, I couldn't. I could only be a lawyer, but in fact, I couldn't because I studied Polish law, so I had no idea about Italian law. So it was crazy. I was totally depressed for like 8 months. I was struggling to find a job. I was, spending hours every day on sending job applications, not getting any answers. When I didn't even get an interview for a secretary or for help in a shop, I was depressed because I'm like, okay, I graduated 3 faculties, I speak 5 languages, and I can't get any job.
Oh wow.
So I was totally depressed, and at some point I just decided, you know what, it can't go any worse than it already is. So why am I putting so much effort into getting a job that I will most probably hate? Let's try getting a job and doing something that I really love, because as I said, it can't go any worse than that.
That's I feel like that's the start of many entrepreneur journeys where you're like, well, I'm already down here, so I may as well try and do what I love. And I say
Definitely.
hope for most of us, well, at least for us, it seems to be working out that we're like, yeah,
Yeah.
can't go any lower, so we may as well go all in on what we love.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
amazing. And so, as I'm both curious, what was it that gave you that oomph to actually go for it? Because I have to imagine fashion photography in Italy is probably a crowded space too, given that it's fashion capital.
Yeah, it is, but when I started, I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just okay. Everywhere is crowded, and everywhere there are problems. So I would just try to do this. I've been taking various kinds of pictures for my life, and I also studied photography in university, like this additional faculty. Just I did it purely for my own fun. I didn't expect it to be my job, but there obviously I had to try various types of photography, and I understood that what I really, really like doing is the fashion photography, models, all that crazy stuff. So I just decided, okay, let's go towards this one. And actually it turned out that it's yes, it's fashion photography, it's the fashion shows, campaigns, models, but another part that I didn't even realize I could enter was the bloggers photography.
Oh.
That And it turned out that usually that I'm young female, looking very young, quite childish sometimes, and I'm very small, so it's usually like a disadvantage. Like, you don't imagine photographer like this, but turned out that for working with bloggers it was actually an advantage, because they are usually girls my age or just a little younger than me that feel much better having a girl around who can help them change clothes and style them and things than going with male photographers. So I found my advantage in disadvantage.
That's so cool. So, in addition to I'll say the traditional fancy version of runways and models and like more formal shoots, help like fashion blogs. Is that the
Yeah,
bloggers are
fashion
fashion
bloggers and
blogs?
Instagram, like
Is your
Instagram pictures for
oh,
Instagram that have to seem so natural.
but yet are very posed.
Yeah, it's like hours of shooting, but yes, they are very natural. But anyway, it's like a new kind of photography, and many girls tell me, hardly any photographer understands what is this kind of photography. Like, so they are happy to meet me, and I just go with them. I understand what they need, and yeah, I discovered this new kind of photography.
Very cool. I wish we lived in the same country because I definitely could use some of that skill.
Well, we can arrange
Yeah,
something.
yeah. In a couple of months, we can cross the oceans again. Yeah.
Yeah, you
uh,
can always come to make a photo shoot in Venice.
you know, I may just take you up on that.
Yeah, I knew it.
Oh, amazing. Oh, yeah, you got my travel brain going. That would be great. Um, we'll rein it back a little bit.
Yeah.
We do always love to ask our guests about nature. You mentioned when we were talking earlier that you love going into the mountains. And can you speak a little bit to how nature and the mountains, you know, supports, I guess, your work and being able to be creative?
So I love going to the mountains. Unfortunately, I don't live close to the mountains, but every time I go, for me, it's like magical, and it just helps me disconnect. It's like I'm entering this other world, and the reality stays behind. And this is what is so amazing, this feeling of disconnection that sometimes it's like saving me from getting insane, and also getting physically tired, going up, going down, smelling the trees and everything. It also really really helps me relax and look at things from a different perspective. And I live in Italy, so, and my husband is from Sicily, so it's more everything like towards the sea, even if I'm not like very much fan of going to the beach and sunbathing. But for example, I love walking on the beach at night. This is like my something I really really love doing, because again, this calmness and the sound of the ocean and somehow mystery, it's again like entering another world.
That's beautiful. And I definitely can relate though when you walk in, for me it's usually like a forest grove and you walk in and there's just, yeah, there's this magical quality to it, different worlds. So thank you for
Yeah, it's
sharing.
as if you cross some magical border or
Yeah.
gate, and just problems seem so far away.
Yeah. So cool. Well, thank you for our little chat today. I'm really excited for our next section that we'll get to in a couple moments, because I know you have a free gift that you're um, offering to listeners that so from hobbyist to a full-time artist in 5 steps, which is an audio training roadmap of how to do that, which I mean, I want to listen to it, and I'm not even an artist that wants to create a full-time business in that. But I just think it's so cool that you've really talked about the steps and made a roadmap for people. So everyone listening and watching, definitely take advantage of that and keep listening, because we're going to dive into some of those tips in our next section. All right, welcome back, everybody. So today we still have Aleksandra Di Gesaro with us, who is a fashion photographer in Italy, a writer and an entrepreneur. And now we have her here to share with us some of her few tips for those of you who are looking to be a freelancer. We're going to talk about a crucial mindset tip for success, which very much leads into how some of the easiest ways to find clients when you're just starting out, which of course is going to lead into you being able to get financial success and security as a freelancer. So Aleksandra, thank you for being with us again today, and choose your favorite one to start with.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for having me. So the things you mentioned are the things that people ask me the most about, or that I think are crucial for success. So the first one is the mental shift. And this is something that is for me like a total basis, like it's half of success in my opinion. That the things that you've been told, like you can, sky's the limit, you can get everything you want, yes, it's true, but there is a but. You have to remember that it's up to you. You have to be active. You can't just think, oh, I wish I could earn as a painter, I wish I could do that. No, you have to like apply this mindset that it's all up to you, that it's not that the amazing opportunity will come your way, that somebody will magically hire you and will buy all your paintings. It's up to you, and you can really really get everything, but you have to find the opportunities. You have to make a list like of 20 ideas of what you can do, and just go trying each of them and checking each of them, and get ready that many of them will not work. And this is part of the process, that you just go and you try one thing, it didn't work, try another, it worked, so okay, let's adjust it, let's try another, let's try another, let's try another. And this way you arrive to great opportunities, you arrive to more experience, to being known. And just you have to remember that that's how it works, that you have to really get to work and start as soon as you can, because I often hear, oh, I'm not ready. Yes, you are ready. Mostly it just means I'm scared, but no, you are ready, and use whatever you have at the moment. This is also what you can use to build your financial security, because like I don't suggest you dive deep like I had to do, that I had to start earning right now because I had no sources. Like I didn't have any revenue. Like if you have a job, it's okay. Like just start working after hours, start working on weekends. And the key to having financial security is practically having multiple sources of income. Like it's not that like I'm a fashion photographer, I only do photo shoots. No, I do 1,000 other things. I sell pictures on stock. I teach retouching, I teach photography, I offer graphic design services, like many things. And focus what you have at the moment. Like don't say, oh, I don't know, I don't have this fancy camera, I don't have this, I don't have that. Start with whatever you have. And this is how you build the security, that one source brings you, I don't know, $100, the other one brings you something, the other brings you something. And this way you are also secured for situations like there was the COVID now. Or for example, I had the situation last year that a member of my family got very ill and had to have an urgent surgery and had to spend a month in hospital. And for me, it was very traumatic. And just the next day, I jumped on the plane and I spent the whole month in hospital. And my biggest thought was like, oh my God, and if I would have a job, like a normal 9 to 5 job, like what would it be like? I wouldn't be able to be there, because practically of how my business was operating, I didn't lose any money on this whole month. I just was working from hospital. I just postponed some of the photo shoots, and the rest I was working from hospital. And you have to be ready that these things happen. That's why having multiple sources of income is really, really crucial and very helpful. And also for you to feel more safe, and because I know this is a huge problem of artists, that they think it's financially risky. Another big problem is, how do I find clients, especially at the beginning when nobody knows you? I totally get it. I moved to Italy where I didn't know anybody. I didn't know any models. I didn't know makeup artists. Didn't know anybody. So what I found out is best to start with are the websites or services that provide traffic, that they care that you are seen. So for example, in Italy and a few other countries, there is Pronto Pro that people write their requests, what they need, and you as a professional can answer. You can always use Fiverr or Upwork, places that they care that you earn and that you are seen, because they also earn on it. For certain professions, also websites with lists. For example, when I was organizing my own wedding, I found websites that had sections like wedding photographers, wedding makeup artists, wedding florists. And if you can find anything like this is like a gold mine, because this is for the best places to find clients is to appear where they are already searching. Because if you are like promoting yourself to people who don't need you, it's more difficult. But if you arrive to people who are already searching for services like yours, that makes it much easier. And this way you can get testimonies, you can get first clients, and start the snowball rolling.
Yeah. That's I love your comment about go where they're looking for you, because like what a fashion photographer doesn't need to go to a conference about transportation. They're not going to find clients there. They go to the wedding shows. And then I remember when I got married, I went to all the wedding shows because I wanted to find the people that could help me with that not problem, but that thing I needed help with. So yeah, go where they're looking for you. So simple, and at the same time comes across so wise.
Yeah, like you don't even realize. Also, if your service is like location based, some local area website, notice boards, anything like this, because sometimes you can really find people who are searching there. They write, "Do you know anybody who does this?" That is perfect.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing those 3 tips with us today. I know it got my own brain going on a few new ideas for myself. And I know that we'll re-highlight the From Hobbyist to a Full-Time Artist in 5 Steps audio roadmap training that you're offering complimentary for everyone listening. And you also mentioned a masterclass called Creative Dreamers, which I'm very
Yes.
curious to know more about, and I'm sure everyone listening is too.
So this is a masterclass that I'm starting soon in the mid of June, and hopefully later every month. And it's based practically on people I've been mentoring, I've been working with, and I noticed what are the biggest problems. So it's going to include like 4 live classes, lessons when I share the knowledge, like, because I can say, okay, one tip, other tip, but also in an organized way, working on the mindset, working on the finding your clients, defining your business, etc. There will also be 2 live Q&A sessions because I believe you really need this feedback to your questions. And what I also think is crucial is that I remember going to masterminds and, okay, I've learned so much, but how do I apply it now to what I'm doing?
Such
So
a problem.
yes, so that's why I'm going to make also an individual call with every attendee of the masterclass to make sure that they know what they are doing and where they can go. So these are the most
Amazing.
important issues.
Awesome. That sounds like an amazing masterclass series even. So Creative Dreamers info will also be in the show notes. I think that's brilliant. The focusing on the how-to, which is why we thank you for coming and sharing how we can follow in your soul prints and do what you do, getting those how-tos, and everything you've offered and shared with us. So thanks for joining us on Souls Outside.
Thank you for having me. It was so nice to be here.
Thank you for joining us today on Souls Outside, and we hope you enjoyed walking in our featured guest soul prints as much as we did. As always, we like to wrap up each episode with our extreme gratitude and appreciation for our founding sponsors who quite literally made it possible for Souls Outside to become a reality. First off, special thanks goes to Eche Savas and her company Palindrome Design for the amazing cover art, and noting that their sponsorship comes in support of their passion project, Self Build Sustainable. We'd also like to thank Chuck Henry for his amazing music, original music, that is featured throughout the episode. And of course, Elise Cannon, our amazing editor, who quite literally made it possible for any of these episodes to see the light of day. They probably would still be on a hard drive on my computer without her expertise, skill, and passion for editing. So we thank them so much. And until next time, we hope you enjoy your journey and continue following in the soul prints of those who have gone before. Hey, one last thing before you go. If you wish you could talk about this episode with myself, our featured guest, or other like-minded individuals like yourself, join us on Facebook or LinkedIn in our Souls Outside Facebook and LinkedIn groups. On Facebook, we do watch parties. On both, we have awesome conversations about what we talked about and are able to answer your questions on how you can go even further on your soul print journey. See you there.